Amidst the shimmering lights of the elaborately decorated wedding reception, Elena appeared in a pristine white wedding dress, sitting by the dressing table with a gentle smile. The warm golden light reflected in the mirror as she softly brushed through her glossy brown hair, her heart brimming with hope for a new beginning for her family. In that space, everything seemed to blend into a symphony of joy and happiness. Beside Elena, Matthew, her naturally cheerful 8-year-old son, was playing in his own room with his favorite toy. His bright laughter echoed like delicate musical notes, painting an innocent picture of childhood in their new home. Elena called out, "Matthew, are you ready?" And he answered with an excited yet slightly clumsy voice, igniting a sense of pride in his mother. She seemed certain that today was not only her special day, but also the beginning of a home filled with love. As everything was unfolding according to plan, the sound of Cristiano Ronaldo's footsteps, Elena's new husband, echoed down the hallway. Cristiano appeared in an elegant black suit, his tall, commanding figure complemented by his sleek dark hair, exuding the image of a perfect man admired by all. However, the moment Cristiano turned his head, shifting his gaze from Elena to Matthew, the atmosphere suddenly grew heavy. In that instant, while the guests were still immersed in the cheerful ambiance of the celebration, Cristiano unexpectedly stepped toward Matthew. To everyone's astonishment, he raised his hand without hesitation and struck the child, shouting, "You're so annoying!" His voice thundered like a sudden storm in a clear sky, plunging the entire room into stunned silence. The once joyous expressions of the guests were now replaced with shock and disappointment. Elena, witnessing the scene, felt her heart shatter. Beneath the dazzling wedding lights, the image of her son, the one she had poured all her love and hopes into, now appeared fragile, weighed down by an act of unexpected violence. In that fleeting moment, every dream of a happy family seemed to be torn apart, replaced by pain and confusion. She realized, at that very first moment, that everything she had envisioned about having a loving husband and a devoted father had been eclipsed by a harsh reality. As the guests struggled to comfort each other in silence, Elena stared into the mirror, where her own reflection gazed back, a woman once filled with hope, now weary from the betrayal of trust. She wondered whether the sweet promises Cristiano had once made truly reflected his nature, or were merely a polished facade concealing darker flaws. With each passing second, under the shimmering glow of the celebration, Elena began to feel the conflict between her dream of a loving home and the inescapable reality of violence. That moment was not just a physical shock, but a wake-up call for Elena, a sign that she might have been mistaken in trusting the image of Cristiano. This event opened a door for her to reflect on the true value of family love, where warm words must be reinforced by gentle actions and genuine care. These thoughts gradually connected to the second part of the story, where Elena, initially convinced that Cristiano would be a model father and an ideal husband, began to sense unsettling signs through his indifferent words and lack of warmth toward Matthew. Each of Cristiano's criticisms seeped into the foundation of the happiness Elena had longed for, leaving her in disbelief as she realized an invisible gap was forming between her dreams and reality. Amidst this growing tension, Elena found herself torn between her hope for a loving home and the fear that, despite the warm moments under the morning sun, Cristiano's heart might still harbor the cold remnants of dominance and detachment. The story opened with a cruel shock, unfolding into a journey full of contradictions, where a mother's tears and a child's pain would gradually reveal the truth about the meaning of love and family. And so, within this haunting opening moment, the foundation was laid for a profound story about family relationships, where Elena, despite her boundless hope, would have to struggle to protect the sacred values of motherhood against the looming signs of emotional violence. The conclusion of the wedding, once filled with colors of happiness, had now transformed into the beginning of a sorrowful tale, leaving everyone to question whether the dream of a perfect home truly exists or is merely a fragile illusion amidst harsh realities. Elena always believed that Cristiano Ronaldo, her new husband, would become an exemplary father and an ideal husband, bringing a home filled with love to their family. Every morning, as the soft sunlight gently filtered through the window, Elena sat beside it with eyes sparkling with hope, believing that every gesture and word from Cristiano would bring the warmth that Matthew, their young son, needed. However, over time, small signs of unease began to appear. The indifferent words, the lack of affectionate glances from Cristiano towards Matthew gradually revealed an incomplete coldness within his heart. Amidst the warmth of their new home, Elena could sense the fragile gap forming between her dream of a happy family and the conflicting reality. Each time Cristiano reprimanded Matthew, even in a firm yet measured tone, Elena felt her faith waver, as if those remarks were tiny cracks creeping into the emotional picture she had longed to preserve. Nonetheless, Elena's maternal love for Matthew remained unwavering. She devoted everything good to her son, hoping he could integrate seamlessly and become an irreplaceable part of their shared life. During the afternoons, as the gentle breeze played with the green leaves, Elena often took Matthew for walks, admiring the beauty of nature together and listening to his pure, joyful laughter. In those moments, she envisioned a future where Matthew would never feel out of place, where every family member would contribute to building happiness together. But then, each time she saw Cristiano turn away with an icy gaze, Elena felt a deep sadness, a silent pain as her trust slowly faded under the weight of his cold, detached words. On quiet nights, when the sky shimmered with twinkling stars, Elena often sat by the window, contemplating the road ahead. She recalled their early days of dating, when everything was filled with hope, and every promise from Cristiano felt as sweet as love songs. But now, in the stillness of the night, she realized that family love required more than warm words. It needed to be affirmed through actions, through tender touches meant for Matthew. These thoughts weighed heavily on Elena's soul, as if each tear carried the sorrow of watching her son endure the indifference of the man she had trusted. Though she knew that every family faced inevitable conflicts, Elena never stopped pouring her love into Matthew. Every hug, every smile from her child felt like a healing remedy, a testament to her belief that maternal love could soothe all wounds. She convinced herself that even in moments when Cristiano displayed a lack of concern, every second spent with her son gave her the strength to continue dreaming of a complete home, one where every member was loved and protected. In the peaceful hours, Elena silently listened to Matthew's footsteps and his words echoing like gentle melodies of hope. She reassured herself that as long as genuine love was given, any emotional distance could be bridged. Elena watched Cristiano's gaze, hoping that somewhere within him, a spark of change remained, a spark that could make Matthew feel the warmth of a true family. Yet, every time such moments slipped away, they were replaced by unkind words that further shook her fragile faith. During the soft hours of the afternoon, Elena and Matthew shared fairy tales, where every character overcame hardship to find happiness. She hoped that through these stories, Matthew would understand that love was not merely spoken promises, but true sincerity and care. Every smile from her child was a tiny light, helping to dispel the fractures in their family bond and ignite hope for a better tomorrow. As darkness gradually gave way to the dawn, Elena held on to her belief that, despite the challenges and cold words, her maternal love would always be the guiding light for Matthew. She dedicated her entire soul to her son, hoping that, with time, every wound would heal and every distance would dissolve under the power of love. Elena reminded herself that each moment with her son was a brick in the foundation of the future she had always dreamed of. A family where every heart was understood, cherished, and nurtured with unwavering faith. And on the final night of the day, as the stars still shimmered in the sky, Elena vowed to herself that no matter how many difficulties lay ahead, maternal love would always be an unfading strength, ensuring that Matthew would be protected and guided toward a future filled with hope. In the disoriented atmosphere of the preparation room for the ceremony, the dim lighting from the dressing table lamp seemed unable to hide the subtle yet haunting expressions of Cristiano Ronaldo. As everything sank into silence, Cristiano's discomfort became evident through small gestures, as if a quiet storm of anger was gradually rising within him. Every time Matthew, The 8-year-old child with innocent eyes tried to participate in the day's events. Cristiano's gaze turned cold, filled with unspoken criticism and imposed demands. These signs were not overt, but manifested in sideways glances and words spoken in a firm, yet pressuring tone. Cristiano never offered explanations or encouragement. Instead, he only issued commands like, "You must learn to be independent," or "Do as I say immediately," making the atmosphere increasingly heavy and oppressive. Matthew, young and naive, gradually felt the weight of these criticisms, as if he were being pulled into a current that did not allow him the freedom to express himself. It was not just through words. Cristiano's actions also highlighted his controlling nature. He would gently yet decisively adjust the way Matthew moved or dressed, as if the child had to adhere to rigid rules he had set. Every time Cristiano placed a hand on Matthew's shoulder or instructed him to follow suit, it seemed as though he was not allowing the boy to explore the world freely, but instead sought to control his every move. These actions, despite appearing as care, carried an invisible pressure, making Matthew feel as though he was always expected to live within a mold he never chose. On Cristiano's cold face, there were moments when a softer gaze flickered through, but it was quickly hidden behind the mask of strictness. Small signs, like a quick furrow of his brows, a fleeting glance, or an incomplete smile, all stirred unease for those who paid close attention. The surrounding space gradually became colder, as each command like, "Do as I say now," echoed, making everything sink into a heavy silence. Matthew, with his tender heart, could only lower his head, trying to endure it, yet he could not escape the feeling of being abandoned and unsafe. Gradually, these signs of emotional abuse seeped into every moment of the day, painting a picture of an incomplete family. Each time Cristiano forced his will upon Matthew, each time his words rang out as commands, the boy seemed to lose a part of his innocence. He was no longer a carefree child, but rather the subject of Cristiano's rigid standards. These words and actions did not just make Matthew feel restrained, but also etched deep mental wounds that would be difficult to erase over time. In that space, where Cristiano's every word carried the weight of an order, the boy's gaze grew more lost, empty from the absence of true paternal protection. Cristiano's controlling actions, though not exaggerated, were enough to make Matthew feel like an incomplete part of the new family. The air in the room became stifling, heavy with the burden of silent criticism and cold stares, building an invisible wall between the boy and his belief in love. In those moments of silence, as Cristiano's words still echoed through the room, Matthew remained quiet, carrying his sadness and unease. Those small actions, a gentle touch, a firm reminder, gradually became puzzle pieces of a fragmented family portrait. Cristiano did not realize that each time he forced Matthew to comply with his ways, the boy became even quieter, as if his natural innocence was fading under the weight of imposed expectations. Though these signs of emotional abuse were not glaringly obvious to outsiders, for those who truly listened, they had already become the echoes of a silent tragedy. Each criticism, each act of coercion, left deep scars in Matthew's mind, scars that would never truly heal. Whenever he stood alone, his young eyes reflected loneliness and the pain of a child who was not understood, not truly loved. In that moment, as darkness gradually engulfed the room, the mystery behind these signs of emotional abuse slowly surfaced. Cristiano, with his rigid face and authoritative words, had created an oppressive space where Matthew's innocent laughter was gradually silenced. These small signs, though fleeting, revealed the complete absence of genuine love, a tragic message that quietly called for a future in need of change. In the silence of the room, as Matthew's sighs blended with Cristiano's criticisms, the reality of their new family emerged with all its flaws. The forced expressions of control, though not always overt, were enough to stir pain and insecurity in the tender heart of a child, longing to be loved freely and completely. After the ceremony, in the crisp evening air, Elena stepped out of the grand house in her pristine white wedding gown, but her eyes betrayed an unease she could not conceal. While the laughter of guests still echoed in the distance, Elena gradually became more aware of the pressures that Cristiano Ronaldo, her new husband, placed upon Matthew, the innocent 8-year-old child. Every look, every word from Cristiano carried the weight of an uncompromising standard she had never imagined. Now, within Elena's soul, the pieces of love she had always dreamed of were slowly being torn apart by subtle yet undeniable cracks. As she left the ceremony, Elena vividly recalled the moments leading up to it. The way Cristiano scolded, not just with words, but through every gesture, forcing Matthew to endure pressures no child should have to face. She remembered that cold gaze, one that seemed to seek an unattainable perfection, and in that moment, Elena's faith in a happy family began to waver. Slowly, she realized that despite believing Cristiano would be the ideal husband and exemplary father, the truth was revealing itself through his unkind words and actions toward her young son. On the silent night following the ceremony, as a gentle wind swept through the cold streets, Elena sat quietly by the window of her small room, her mind overwhelmed by ceaseless thoughts. She recalled each moment Cristiano harshly corrected Matthew's behavior, each criticism delivered like a command devoid of any compassion for the child. Those memories surged back like a storm within her, making Elena question whether she was living in a delusion, where love was merely a facade for power and control. At that moment, Claire, her closest friend, the one who had stood by her through life's many tempests, came to her with a worried look and a voice gentle yet filled with sincerity. "Elena, I know he has his good moments, but he is not a good father to Matthew," Claire said, her words gently awakening thoughts buried deep in Elena's heart. Claire's warning fell like soft raindrops on Elena's soul, each drop washing away the fog of blind faith she had once clung to. Sitting across from Claire in a cozy little cafe, Elena struggled to articulate the conflicting emotions surging within her. She recounted the moments when Cristiano forced Matthew to conform to expectations the child had never chosen for himself. She described how her new husband, with his cold demeanor and rigid voice, had caused the light in her son's innocent eyes to fade, as if the boy were lost under an unbearable weight with no escape. Elena's story was laden with sorrow, yet carried a delicate, romantic fragility, an unwavering faith in the power of maternal love. Claire listened, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, but her voice remained steady and warm as she said, "Elena, you love him for what he can offer, but you cannot ignore that cold stare when he looks at Matthew. A happy family requires care and love, not just for the wife, but for the child as well. If he cannot change the way he sees and treats Matthew, then you need to reconsider." Claire's words echoed in Elena's mind like a melancholic melody, resonating with each weary heartbeat worn down by silent conflicts. After her meeting with Claire, Elena gradually realized that love was not defined by sweet promises on a wedding day, but by the tangible actions taken in everyday moments. Looking back, she saw clearly the pressure Cristiano imposed on Matthew, not just through fleeting words, but through his touches and glances, utterly devoid of tenderness. This made Elena begin to doubt her decision, questioning the future she had once envisioned, with unwavering belief that time would mend all wounds. In the long nights following the ceremony, Elena often lay awake, torn between love and sorrow. She wondered if Cristiano's love had only been a dazzling illusion, a polished exterior concealing deep flaws within. Every time she recalled that cold gaze, every time she thought of how Cristiano forced Matthew to conform to rigid standards that were never meant for him, her heart grew heavier. She no longer found warmth in the promises of the past, only an aching emptiness, caught between love and the fear of a future filled with relentless pressure. As her restless soul searched for solace, Elena revisited the beautiful memories of their past, remembering the moments of happiness when everything had seemed filled with hope and sweet dreams. But then, those memories were overshadowed by the bitter reality she faced each day. Reality with Cristiano, the man she had once trusted and adored. She realized that sometimes Love alone was not enough to bridge the cracks forming within a relationship, and that there were limits faith could not ignore. As the seconds of the night passed, Elena could not stop questioning. Am I holding on to a blind love, where pressure and coercion gradually erode my belief in a happy home? These questions echoed in her mind, pulling her between past and present, between sweet memories and the harsh truth. Doubt spread through her like a slow-growing storm, and with every breath, she felt the love she once held dear beginning to falter under the weight of reality. In facing herself, Elena came to understand that true love could not exist without respect and genuine affection for those who mattered most. She slowly realized that if Cristiano did not change the way he treated Matthew, the child who deserved love and protection, then every dream she had for a perfect family would remain nothing more than a fragile illusion. That doubt did not just linger in her mind. It manifested in every movement, every moment she shared with Claire, who had warned her from the very beginning. Claire continued to remind Elena that love must be built on sincerity and kindness, and that if Cristiano could not offer those to Matthew, then the child's well-being would always be at risk. That warning, though painful, was a wake-up call for Elena, a truth she could no longer ignore. The love between her and Cristiano might not be strong enough to shield Matthew from emotional wounds. Amid the relentless thoughts of the late night, Elena felt her heart being crushed by the conflict between faith and reality. She no longer saw Cristiano as the passionate, strong-willed man she had once envisioned. Instead, he now appeared distant and indifferent, his words devoid of warmth for her child. In that moment, Elena began to ask herself whether she had been lost in the illusions of love, ignoring the bitter truth of an incomplete relationship. Elena's story had now become a melancholic symphony, where love intertwined with sorrow, doubt, and the oppressive weight of expectations. Between the sparkling lights of the wedding ceremony and the cold silence of the night, she had to confront an undeniable truth. Love can falter when burdens remain unresolved, when genuine care for loved ones is overshadowed by commands and criticism. In that decisive moment, Elena knew she could no longer lose herself in the false dream of a perfect home if, within it, Matthew, the child she loved more than anything, had to endure unnecessary emotional wounds. Claire's words had been like a guiding light, illuminating a new path for Elena, though that path was strewn with the thorns of change. In the dim glow of the night, she gradually realized that to protect Matthew, she had to face reality, no matter how painful it was. And so, after the ceremony, amidst the heavy thoughts and the whispers of the night, Elena began to see more clearly that the love she had cherished might not be strong enough to withstand the weight of unspoken pressures. Claire's warning echoed in her mind like an unshakable reminder. Love must be nurtured through respect and kindness, not through orders and demands. In the stillness of the night, Elena promised herself that no matter how difficult the road ahead might be, she would always protect Matthew with all the love she had, even if it meant letting go of a love that was slowly crumbling under the weight of irreconcilable expectations. In the new house, the darkness of starless nights gradually enveloped the space, and with each passing day, the unspoken distance between loved ones became more apparent. Cristiano Ronaldo, Elena's husband, slowly drifted away from the warmth of family, seeking solace in the company of distant friends, where laughter and lively conversations made him forget the responsibilities of a father. While Cristiano indulged in the excitement of reunions with old friends, Matthew, the innocent 8-year-old son of Elena, was left to exist in lonely silences, where cheerful voices were replaced by cold criticisms and the absence of comforting words. Every evening, as the soft sunlight faded, Elena often witnessed Cristiano returning home late after his gatherings with friends. His face always beamed with joy from the fun he had, but the moment he stepped into the house, he paid no attention to the small figure of Matthew standing quietly in the corner. The child, whose large, bright eyes once held hope, now showed growing anxiety, as if he were always waiting for a moment of warmth, a hint of affection from the father who should have been his source of reassurance. But instead, there were only sharp words and rigid actions echoing within the family walls. One evening, As Matthew busied himself adjusting his shirt in his own way, Cristiano approached with a low and icy voice. "You must have self-respect. Maintain the family's image. Do not let small mistakes tarnish our honor." His words rang out like commands, leaving no room for optimism or encouragement. Matthew, with his tender innocence, could only lower his head, his eyes filled with fear and confusion, as if each of his father's words was a knife slicing through his fragile heart. From the other side of the kitchen, Elena stood in silent observation. She could feel that every time Cristiano gave those orders, they were not just reminders, but cruel criticisms that deeply wounded their son's spirit. The image of Matthew, whose once joyful smile was now fading, appeared in Elena's mind like a heavy painting of loneliness and disappointment. Every time Matthew tried to speak his thoughts, he was met with cold, dismissive responses, pushing him further into the abyss of silence. As time passed, Cristiano's absence from the family further exposed the growing void. On evenings when he once again left to enjoy his own pleasures with friends, the house became so empty it felt suffocating. In that space, Matthew, with his delicate soul and increasingly wounded heart, had to struggle with loneliness that offered no salvation. Elena tried to compensate by holding her son close, soothing him with gentle lullabies, hoping that their time together would ease the sorrow lingering within him. However, no matter how much she tried, the wounds Cristiano inflicted through his harsh words and rigid actions could not be erased. Day by day, words like, "You never do anything right," or "You will never learn to be independent if you keep acting like this," echoed after every minor mistake Matthew made, like sharp daggers piercing deep into his tender soul. The atmosphere in the house grew increasingly heavy, burdened by invisible scars the child never outwardly expressed. Matthew became quieter with each passing day, his once lively eyes now filled only with sadness, as if every moment of his life carried an unspoken pain. Elena, moment by moment, gradually came to a harsh realization. Cristiano did not love Matthew as a father should. While Cristiano shone on the football field and in his social gatherings inside, he lacked the ability to express emotions or care for the child who needed his protection. His actions carried no affection, only orders and rigid criticisms, as if Matthew was something to be corrected rather than nurtured and loved. On long nights, while Cristiano's laughter and lively conversations echoed outside, inside the house, there was only the sound of deep sighs and suffocating silence. Elena quietly watched Matthew, playing alone with empty eyes, as if he had lost all faith in the future. She could not help but feel heartbreak as she realized that while she was willing to give all her maternal love, the father seemed to exist only in his own world, leaving their son to struggle with hardships no child should have to bear. Faced with these realities, Elena became even more determined to protect Matthew. She began searching for small ways to heal her son's emotional wounds. Every time Matthew shed tears, Elena gently held him, whispering warm words of comfort, hoping that through every moment together, he would find joy and the security he deserved. She taught him to smile, to find happiness in simple things, even as the darkness of criticism and neglect loomed over them. Elena gradually realized that a complete family needed not only a mother's love, but also a father's care and protection. Cristiano's actions, his frequent absences, his heartless criticisms, only made Matthew feel like a drifting shadow amid the broken pieces of family affection. In every glance, every word Cristiano spoke, Elena could sense an undeniable coldness, an invisible barrier forming between love and true compassion. Each day, through moments filled with pressure, Elena's heart ached more as she saw her son gradually lose the innocence he once had. Matthew, who should have been able to laugh freely like other children, now only carried sorrowful eyes, as if hope itself was fading under the weight of relentless scolding and imposed expectations. Elena understood that if nothing changed, Matthew's emotional wounds would remain a burden he could never escape, severing his faith in a happy future. In the suffocating atmosphere of the house, between the echoes of outside gatherings and the hesitant loneliness within. Elena made a silent vow that no matter how deep the darkness, her love as a mother would always be the guiding light for Matthew. She resolved to find a way to shield her child from all harm, even if it meant facing the depths of her own sorrow. Elena knew that one day, if Cristiano did not change, Matthew would forever be left behind, trapped in a life filled with the empty void of love. Cristiano's criticisms, his neglect, and the coldness he carried had built an unbreakable wall between father and son. Elena, in every moment she cared for her son, reminded herself that love was not just empty promises. It had to be shown through real actions, through warm embraces and gentle lullabies. She hoped that, with time, Matthew's emotional scars would slowly heal, allowing him to grow up in a home filled with genuine love and true care. Amidst the heavy atmosphere of starless nights and the quiet sighs of a lonely child, Elena affirmed to herself that her duty was not just to be a mother, but also to be Matthew's last protector. She decided that she would not allow the darkness of neglect and emotional abuse to spread, nor would she let her son's faith be extinguished. No matter how much Cristiano chose to live in his own world, Elena knew that her maternal love, the only light in their family, would always guide Matthew through every hardship towards a future filled with hope and true love. In the stillness of the evening, Elena stood before the mirror in the living room, where the dim light cast shadows of worry across her gentle yet resolute face. The image of Matthew, her once innocent 8-year-old son, now with hesitant eyes and unspoken emotional wounds, flashed through her mind like a silent plea for help. Cristiano's constant reproaches toward their child had become an unbearable burden, weighing heavily on a mother's heart filled with pain and helplessness. Without hesitation, Elena stepped out of her private room and walked straight toward where Cristiano sat in the living room, the air still lingering with the echoes of chaotic conversations from the evening spent with friends. Her gaze was sharp, brimming with determination, reflecting the deep love she held for Matthew. With a voice warm yet firm, she spoke. "Cristiano, I can no longer allow Matthew to endure your scoldings and cruel actions. My son deserves love and protection, not to be subjected to your relentless expectations." Her voice rang through the room, a declaration of a mother determined to change her child's fate. Cristiano, a man accustomed to controlling everything his way, exploded in anger. His face turned red, his voice rising with sharp accusations. "What do you even understand, Elena? Matthew needs to learn independence, to be trained for the harsh realities of the world. I'm just teaching him how to survive." His words struck like sharp arrows, but Elena did not waver. She continued, her voice steady, carrying both sorrow and unwavering resolve. "A father's love is not about orders or criticism. It must be shown through care, affection, and warm embraces. If you cannot change the way you treat him, then you do not deserve to be his father." Amid the rising tension, Claire and David, Elena's dearest friends, appeared like guiding lights in the darkness. Claire, her expression a mixture of concern and determination, spoke softly yet firmly. "Elena, you are not alone. You deserve happiness, and Matthew deserves to be loved like any other child. He is not the father your son needs." David added, his voice steady and reassuring. "Think about Matthew's future. If he refuses to change, you must leave him to protect your son from wounds that may never heal. We will stand by you, always." Their words flowed over Elena like a soothing stream, easing the storm within her heart. In that moment, she realized that protecting Matthew was not just a mother's duty, but a pivotal decision for his future. A newfound strength surged within her, one nurtured by faith and unconditional love. Cristiano, still reeling from the unexpected confrontation, attempted to justify himself. "Matthew will grow stronger if I teach him this way. If you keep shielding him, he'll never learn the value of discipline." But Elena refused to listen any further. Her voice rang out, resolute, a final declaration. "If you cannot give Matthew the love a father should, then you will no longer be a part of our lives. I will protect my son with everything I have, and I will never let him suffer again." At that moment, the air in the room seemed to freeze. Cristiano's eyes flickered between anger and confusion, but against the force of Elena's words and the unwavering support of Claire and David, He found himself without justification. His accusations grew hollow, unable to mask the truth that his love for Matthew lacked the care and kindness a child needed. Amid the emotional storm, Claire and David stepped closer, placing reassuring hands on Elena's shoulders, reinforcing her with strength to stand by her choice. Together, they formed an unbreakable shield, ensuring Matthew would no longer endure pain. Elena met Cristiano's gaze, her eyes filled with disappointment. "If you cannot change, then I will leave you to protect my son. I will not allow Matthew to suffer any longer." In that moment, Elena made the decision that no matter how difficult the road ahead, her maternal love would always be the guiding light for Matthew. She walked out of the room with firm steps, hand in hand with Claire and David, leaving behind Cristiano, the man who could not give Matthew the love he deserved. With the unwavering support of her loyal friends, Elena not only freed herself from the shackles of the past, but also opened a new chapter, one where Matthew would be surrounded by love and safety. She knew that the decision she made today would mark a turning point in her son's life, helping him overcome the emotional scars left by Cristiano. As the darkness of night slowly gave way to the first light of dawn, Elena stood by the window, watching the faint glow of a new day. She promised herself that no matter the trials ahead, a mother's love would always be the beacon guiding Matthew toward a future filled with hope and genuine affection. In the gentle morning breeze, Elena, Claire, and David vowed that no matter what challenges lay ahead, Matthew would never again endure the pain of cruel words or emotional neglect. With that step forward, Elena began a new chapter, one where every heart in their newfound family would be cherished and protected, and where a mother's love would forever illuminate the path to a brighter future for her beloved son. In the somber atmosphere of the final afternoon, as the soft glow of the sunset streamed through the courthouse windows, Elena stepped into the intake room with resolute eyes and a heart overflowing with pain and hope. After months of enduring oppression, bitter reproaches, and Cristiano's relentless neglect, she could no longer remain silent. Elena decided to report Cristiano's actions to the authorities, seeking to bring safety to Matthew, the innocent son she had lovingly raised since birth. Inside the office of the authorities, Elena spoke truthfully and with deep emotion about the psychological abuse and cruel words Cristiano had inflicted upon Matthew. She recounted every painful moment, every cold remark, and every coercive action that had gradually stripped Matthew of the innocence that should have defined his childhood. With a trembling but determined voice, Elena declared that, as a mother, she could not allow her son to suffer any longer. She presented evidence, cold text messages, recorded audio of relentless criticism, all meticulously compiled to convey the undeniable truth that Cristiano's actions had not only violated Matthew's rights, but also highlighted the harsh reality of emotional abuse within the family. The case swiftly moved to court. In the open trial, Elena sat beside Matthew, who, despite his young age, had already endured too much sorrow, staring intently at the table where arguments unfolded. Elena's testimony, delivered with raw emotion, pieced together a tragic reality that no one could deny. Witnesses, including close family friends and neighbors who had seen Matthew's sadness and silence after each scolding, came forward to testify, confirming that Cristiano's behavior was more than just careless words. It was emotional abuse that had left deep, unhealable scars on the child's heart. The courtroom was steeped in silence, where Elena's testimony echoed like the voice of truth, affirming that a father's love could not simply be measured by accomplishments on the field or the applause of fame. The sarcasm and contempt that Cristiano had once hidden behind his glamorous facade were now exposed under the scrutiny of justice. After hearing the testimonies and reviewing the evidence, the court issued a restraining order against Cristiano, a serious decision aimed at protecting Matthew from any further emotional harm. At that moment, Elena's eyes lit up with hope, yet they also carried the sorrow of the countless days she had watched her son suffer. The court's ruling was a fragile ray of light piercing through the darkness of injustice, but it also reaffirmed that a mother's love and protection would never be forgotten. Though Matthew did not fully grasp the gravity of the situation, he clung tightly to his mother's hand, feeling the warmth of love and safety. However, not long after the restraining order was issued, Cristiano attempted to return. He appeared suddenly at the house, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and desperation, seeking to once again be part of Matthew's life. But his presence only deepened Elena's pain. No longer the fragile woman who once endured everything, she now stood stronger than ever, driven by a mother's love and a belief in justice. In this decisive confrontation, Elena stood firm, unwavering beneath Cristiano's pleading gaze. Her voice was soft yet unyielding as she said, "Cristiano, you have made Matthew suffer too much. The court has ruled that you are not allowed to see him. I have done everything in my power to protect my son, and I will never let him be hurt again." Her words burned like flames, making the air between them suffocating. Cristiano, despite his efforts to justify himself, could not hide the fact that he had lost, not only in the eyes of the law, but also in the unwavering love of a mother who would stop at nothing to protect her child. In that climactic moment, Elena realized that for her, a mother's love was the only force capable of overcoming all trials. No matter how many times Cristiano tried to return or regretted his actions, nothing could erase the pain she had witnessed. There was no hesitation left. Her decision had been forged through sleepless nights, countless tears, and the fragile hope that Matthew would one day live in a home filled with love and safety. Elena's unwavering resolve left Cristiano, despite his desperate attempts to come back, silent. Every effort to persuade her was met with firm rejection. She knew that no amount of regret or resignation could change the priority of protecting her son. In her eyes, Matthew was her strength, the sole reason she continued to fight for a better future. Not long after this confrontation, Cristiano was forced to accept the court's ruling and the restraining order, which he could not violate without facing severe legal consequences. As Cristiano withdrew, Elena stood there, her eyes full of confidence and love, watching over Matthew, the child who clung tightly to her hand, as if silently affirming that from now on, their lives would no longer be overshadowed by emotional abuse. That decisive confrontation marked the beginning of a new chapter in Elena and Matthew's lives. They knew that the road ahead would still hold struggles and challenges, but Elena's maternal love had proven to be an unbreakable force, ready to protect what she cherished most. With each passing day, under the soft hues of a new dawn, Elena and Matthew slowly rebuilt their lives, a life where love and safety were paramount, where the painful past remained only as scars, reminders of a past they had overcome. In the light of a new day, Elena gazed toward the distant horizon with an unwavering hope. She knew that no matter how many obstacles lay ahead, a mother's love would always be the guiding light for Matthew, helping him weather the storms of life. And so, Elena ended her relationship with Cristiano, not because she no longer cared, but because her love and protection for Matthew would always come first, a priority she would never compromise. The story of their decisive confrontation became a testament to the power of maternal love, a belief that no matter how harsh life may be or how many people fail to love, resilience and unwavering protection for a child will always be the beacon guiding the weak toward a future filled with hope and security. In the coldness of the past, Elena found herself through her decision, a choice that not only saved Matthew, but also marked the turning point for both of them, leading them into a new life where love and sincerity reigned supreme. As the trial concluded and the light of justice filled the courtroom, Elena and Matthew walked out hand in hand, carrying the belief that from this moment on, they would live in a home untouched by emotional abuse. Their story, though filled with sorrow, was also a testament to hope and the sacred love between a mother and her child, a love that would forever inspire those who believed that true love had the power to transform even the deepest wounds into milestones of resilience and happiness. After the painful trials and the long days struggling in the darkness of the past, Elena and Matthew gradually found solace within the peaceful walls of their small home. The gentle dawn seeped through the window, carrying the warm breath of a new day filled with hope. Before them lay a tranquil scene, where the chirping of birds intertwined with the breeze that swayed the blooming flowers. In that very moment, Elena felt the sacred strength of motherhood, the force that had helped her endure and overcome the storms of the past. Matthew, whose innocent eyes had once dimmed with fear, now shone with growing confidence as he held his mother's hand with every step. The emotional wounds inflicted by Cristiano seemed to fade away, soothed by the laughter and pure joy of the young boy. With his mother by his side, guiding and protecting him, Matthew found happiness again, allowing each passing day to be lighter, filled with love and warmth. Elena, after enduring countless days of reproach and cruel actions, finally chose to sever ties completely with her dark past. Cristiano, who once embodied power and prestige, had become nothing more than a bitter memory she was forced to leave behind. As she embarked on the journey of rediscovering herself, Elena realized that the most valuable thing was not the sweet promises once whispered, but the unwavering embrace of a mother's love. She understood that true love was reflected in care, in endless devotion, and in tender embraces. Each morning, as the soft golden sunlight bathed their home, Elena woke early to prepare breakfast for Matthew. She poured all her love and care into even the simplest meals, creating precious moments of warmth between them. Matthew's cheerful laughter, as he shared little stories of wonder on their way to school, filled their home with a renewed sense of comfort. It was a quiet affirmation that, despite the many sleepless nights filled with sorrow, hope for a brighter future still remained. On the familiar path home, Elena and Matthew walked together through quiet streets. Beneath the cool shade of towering trees, Matthew excitedly shared the fascinating things he had observed, his laughter ringing through the air, a gentle reminder that no hardship could ever extinguish the boundless spirit of childhood. Elena listened silently, a gentle smile playing on her lips, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her son grow, slowly but surely, into a resilient soul. As the days passed, the painful memories of Cristiano, the times when Matthew endured neglect, the harsh words that had once cut deep, gradually faded into the background. The emotional scars, though still etched within them, became valuable lessons that shaped both mother and son into stronger individuals. Elena understood that to truly move forward, she had to let go of the past and focus on building a new life, one rooted in genuine love and a mother's unwavering protection. In the evenings, as the sunset painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold, Elena often sat by the window, watching the fading light while gazing at Matthew playing in their small garden. She reminded herself that no matter the challenges that lay ahead, her son's safety and happiness would always come first. These quiet moments reignited a flame of hope in her heart, a constant reminder that every new day was a chance to heal old wounds and write a new chapter filled with love. Elena gradually realized that true happiness did not come from achievements or status, but from the ability to love and be loved. She taught Matthew that the most precious things in life were the simple moments, time spent together, shared laughter, and warm embraces. With each gentle lesson and every reassuring hug, Elena instilled in her son the belief that, no matter how many challenges lay ahead, the bond between mother and child was an unbreakable force, capable of healing all wounds. Time flowed peacefully, and memories of the past slowly gave way to the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Spring arrived, bringing with it vibrant blossoms that adorned their garden, a symbol of renewal and fresh beginnings. Together, Elena and Matthew planted new flowers, tending to them with care, each bloom representing a new life, a new hope. Day by day, they rebuilt their world, replacing pain with simple joys and moments of genuine happiness. Elena knew she could not change the past, but she could shape Matthew's future with unwavering love and constant care. She reminded herself that each time she saw her son smile, she had found her purpose, to keep fighting, to protect what was most precious in her life. With all the courage and faith within her, Elena resolved to embrace a new chapter, one where Matthew would grow in a home free from the shadows of emotional abuse, where a mother's love would be the guiding light, illuminating the path forward. In the final moments of the evening, as the sunset faded and the night's embrace settled over the land, Elena stood by the window, holding Matthew's hand tightly. She gazed out into the vast sky where the stars whispered promises of a new beginning. In her heart, she knew that no matter the struggles they might face, they would always find their way to peace. Cristiano, who had once been a part of their painful past, was now nothing more than a memory that could never return. And from this moment onward, Elena and Matthew would walk only toward the future, a future filled with love, serenity, and boundless hope. And so, together, mother and son embarked on a new journey, where every step they took was imprinted with the strength and resilience of maternal love. No matter how deeply the past had wounded them, the love of a mother would forever remain the greatest force, capable of healing all pain and lighting the way to a brighter future. In the gentle glow of a new day, Elena finally understood that life's true meaning lay in living wholeheartedly with love, in embracing the warmth of a true family, where every heart was cherished, protected, and deeply valued. After countless hardships, through moments of bitterness and life's ups and downs, Elena and Matthew had finally found a new path, a place where the scars of violence and pain slowly transformed into valuable lessons for the future. In the peaceful setting of a crisp morning, as the first rays of sunlight gently filtered through the leaves, Elena and Matthew walked hand in hand along the familiar path leading to their small home, a place where love and protection had built a true sanctuary. With the unwavering strength of maternal love, Elena had fought tirelessly to shield Matthew from the emotional wounds that the dark past had etched into his soul. Day by day, hour by hour, she had come to realize that violence, whether physical or emotional, whether in the form of harsh words or controlling actions, was never a solution. The scars left by constant reproach and neglect did not only wound Matthew's innocent heart, but also fractured precious relationships, making the belief in true love fragile and uncertain. These lessons had been ingrained in Elena through years of suffering, through sleepless nights and countless tears shed for the future of her beloved son. She understood that for a family to be truly happy, it needed not only a strong bond, but also a foundation of genuine love and care. Violence, in any form, only led to destruction, stripping away the purity that should define human relationships, especially those of children who deserve to be cherished and nurtured. On the path leading to their new home, under the golden light of a fresh spring morning, Elena and Matthew walked slowly but steadily, each step a testament to their unwavering belief that no matter the challenges ahead, a mother's love, the power of unconditional care, would always be the guiding light, illuminating the road to the future. Matthew, whose once innocent eyes had been clouded by sorrow, now sparkled with hope and joy, as if each of his smiles symbolized a new beginning, a life no longer dictated by the wounds of the past. Elena had come to understand that in life, nothing was more precious than genuine love and the warmth of family. The empty promises, the glamorous illusions of the past were nothing but fading mirages compared to the strength of a heart that loved and was loved in return. She reminded herself that no matter how many people abused their power, no matter how many schemes of emotional violence were disguised under the cloak of fame, in the end, only love and sincerity could heal all wounds and restore faith in a brighter future. As they walked through the quiet streets beneath the clear blue sky and the radiant spring sun, Elena and Matthew became one with the symphony of nature. The cheerful chirping of birds, the soft whispers of the wind through the flowers, all seemed to weave a story of life, of the simple yet profound joy that love could bring. Each blooming flower, each rustling leaf carried away the bitter memories, paving the way for a new beginning, where happiness was no longer an unreachable dream, but a reality they could embrace in every moment of daily life. On that sunlit path, the image of Elena and Matthew walking hand in hand was not just a symbol of sacred maternal love, but a living testament to the truth that violence, in any form, could never lead to happiness. The deep wounds, the silent pain caused by violence were never the solution, but mere shadows lurking in the background of life's grand tapestry. And when love took precedence, when every member of a family learned to cherish and protect one another, all of life's storms would eventually pass, making way for days filled with peace and true happiness. Elena realized that the most profound lesson life had given her was that genuine love was irreplaceable. She had learned that violence, whether in words or in controlling actions, only weakened trust and left people vulnerable to harm. Meanwhile, the embrace of maternal love, with all its strength and warmth, was the only force capable of healing wounds and guiding a child toward a hopeful future. Through their tumultuous journey, Elena and Matthew had finally stepped out of the shadows, freeing themselves from the pain of the past and moving toward a future where every heart was cherished and valued. No more forced laughter, no more bitter words, only the pure sound of Matthew's laughter and Elena's gentle, loving gaze, always looking toward a brighter tomorrow. The final image of this story is Elena and Matthew walking together on a sunlit path, each step illuminated by their unwavering belief in love. They pass through familiar streets, quiet neighborhoods where the sounds of nature and the melodies of birds compose the symphony of life. To Elena, every moment with her son was not only a source of joy, but also proof of the boundless power of a mother's love, a force capable of turning deep wounds into milestones of resilience and happiness. The lesson to be drawn from this story is clear. Violence, in any form, is never the answer. It only brings pain and leaves scars that are difficult to erase. In contrast, love, forgiveness, and kindness are the core values that build a lasting family, a place where every member is protected and allowed to grow in safety and happiness. With a heart full of love and an unwavering faith, Elena chose to move forward, a path where pain and trauma were replaced by the peace and warmth of maternal care. She held Matthew's hand, guiding him step by step along the sunlit road toward a future free from violence, free from the scars of the past, but instead filled with joy, sincerity, and true happiness. Like a gentle love song echoing through the vast landscape of life, the image of Elena and Matthew walking hand in hand became a symbol of the power of love, of the belief that no matter how many hardships one faces, family, with all its values, will always be the guiding light, leading people toward a life of fulfillment and unconditional love.